Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets.
Hey there.
So today, we're going to dive into a few things that have really caught our eye lately. You know how it goes. 1 minute tech feels predictable, the next, everything's shifting.
Absolutely. It feels like that constantly these days.
We want to unpack the ongoing tariff situation, how that's messing with tech.
Yeah.
Then maybe look up literally at Blue Origin's latest space flight, the one with the celebs.
Right. That one definitely makes some noise.
And finally bring it back down to earth with Kraken, the crypto exchange, wading into traditional stocks.
Yeah. Interesting move there.
So think of this as your quick hit of the important stuff, what you need to know without getting totally bogged down. Sound good?
Sounds great. It's funny how these different areas, policy, space, finance, are all kind of reflecting bigger tech shifts, isn't it?
Totally. Okay, so tariffs first. Man, it feels like we've been talking about this forever.
It does.
And it still feels, well, like that one commentator put it, clear as mud. What's the core problem for tech right now?
Well, it really boils down to predictability, or the lack of it. The U.S. tariff policy on tech goods, it's just not consistent.
Right.
And that makes it incredibly hard for companies, planning supply chains, manufacturing. Where do you build things? If the rules might change tomorrow, it adds a ton of risk.
And we see that risk playing out in the markets, don't we? It's not just abstract worry. Tech stocks have been jumpy.
Oh, definitely.
Like Apple taking that dip and then climbing back up. It just shows how sensitive things are.
Exactly. Investor confidence loves stability. When you throw tariff uncertainty into the mix, questions about costs, market access investors, get cautious. Stocks wobble. Apple's a perfect example of that.
Now, NVIDIA did something interesting. They announced they're building a supercomputer 100% in the U.S., in Texas.
Yeah, that was notable.
Feels like a pretty direct reaction to all the policy talk, doesn't it?
It certainly looks like a very deliberate move. Onshoring something that complex. It sends a signal, aligning with the administration's push for domestic manufacturing.
What about the cost? I mean, building state-of-the-art stuff in the U.S., even a supercomputer, that's going to be more expensive than overseas.
Right. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe billion-dollar for a supercomputer. Yes, likely higher labor costs, production costs generally. It fulfills the policy goal, but the economics are different.
So who pays for that? Does NVIDIA just eat the cost? Or does that eventually trickle down, like higher prices for us?
That's the concern. It's hard to imagine them absorbing all of it. So yeah, that could ripple out. Higher manufacturing costs for these advanced bits of kit can definitely add to inflation across tech. Think consumer electronics, cloud services that run on these things. It could all get pricier.
So if you're an investor trying to be smart right now, is the advice kind of shifting? Maybe look away from big tech for a bit.
Well, some of the thinking seems to be leaning towards, value stocks, more defensive sectors.
Like healthcare?
Healthcare, industrials, yeah. Things less directly in the firing line of these specific tariff battles. It's seen as maybe a safer bet while tech figures things out.
And the president's own comments don't exactly simplify things, do they? We hear talk of flexibility, but then also electronic-specific tariffs to come.
Right, and a focus on the whole supply chain. It is, yeah, a bit of a head-scratcher trying to figure out the long game.
Mixed messages.
Seems like it. It suggests tariffs are still very much on the table as a tool to reshape that electronic supply chain. Maybe some exemptions here and there, but the overall push seems towards more specific tariffs, maybe to encourage more U.S. production or rely less on certain countries.
And companies are looking for ways around it, I guess. Like Apple maybe shifting more production to India. Is that a real option?
It is. Diversifying is key. Moving some manufacturing to places like India helps companies like Apple reduce their exposure if tariffs hit goods from China, for example. It's about having options, building resilience.
Okay, last thing on tariffs. The exemptions. It just sounds confusing. The White House clarifies, but then says they're not a free pass forever. And other tariffs might still apply anyway. It must be a nightmare for businesses.
It adds a huge layer of complexity. You get an exemption, but you can't bank on it being permanent, and you still need to watch out for tariffs on, say, the semiconductors inside the thing you got an exemption for.
Wow.
Yeah, constant monitoring, constant adaptation. It's tough.
Okay, let's pivot. Hard pivot. To space. Blue Origin's flight.
Right, the one that got a lot of headlines.
Yeah, not just because it went up again, but the all-female crew, which is pretty cool.
Very significant, yeah. First time with more than one woman since, what, 1963?
Wow.
Yeah.
And the passenger list was eye-catching. Jeff Bezos' fiancée, Katy Perry.
Definitely added to the buzz. But beyond the celebs, that crew milestone is important, shows a push for more inclusion, even now.
And technically, hitting the Kármán line, reusable rocket, that's still a big deal, right? An American feat, as some called it. Why is reusable so key?
Oh, absolutely. Getting up there and back safely with a rocket you can use again is a major engineering win. Reusability is the game changer for cost.
Right.
If you can fly the same rocket multiple times, like an airplane, the cost per flight plummets compared to building a new one each time. That's how you get more frequent, maybe eventually more affordable access to space.
So does a flashy flight like this actually, boost the business side, more investment coming into space launch, more regular flights?
That's the hope in the industry for sure. These successes, especially when they're visible like this, they can attract more investment. And having both Blue Origin and SpaceX showing off reusable systems, it makes the market look more mature.
Right, like it's actually happening now.
Exactly. More appealing for investors looking long term.
But these suborbital hops, they're just part of Blue Origin's picture, aren't they? They've got the big New Glenn rocket,
Right.
the engines.
Yeah.
That's the main event, really.
You're right. The suborbital flights are great for experience, for visibility, but yeah, long-term success really depends on New Glenn getting flying and those BE-4 engines working reliably.
For bigger stuff, orbital flights.
Precisely. That's where the bigger payloads, the more complex missions, and the real competition in the launch market lie.
Okay, but let's be real. Some people look at Katy Perry going to space and think, isn't this just PR, a rich guy's toy?
Yeah.
Especially with that reported $150,000 deposit. What's the comeback to that cynicism?
Well, there are a few points. First, every single flight, no matter who's on board, gives engineers vital data, flight experience, helps them make it safer, better.
Okay, fair enough.
Second, think about early aviation. Also super expensive, often involved famous people, but that helped build awareness, trust, eventually leading to mass air travel. The hope is space follows a similar path.
Interesting parallel.
And third, these successes can inspire people, get more engineers, more companies excited about space, drive more innovation.
And you figure the government, the White House, NASA, they probably like seeing this kind of private sector activity. Shows American leadership.
Generally, yes. A strong commercial space sector fits with national goals for exploration, science, staying ahead in space tech. So yeah, likely seen as a positive overall.
And way down the line, they're talking about replacing the ISS, right? With like multiple private stations by 2030. How do these little hops help that big vision?
They're the building blocks. You need this operational experience, the safety record, the tech development from these suborbital flights to even think about building and running orbital stations.
Okay.
Each launch, each landing adds to the knowledge you need for those bigger goal stations, for pharma research, material science, maybe tourism.
Gotcha. Okay, final topic. Kraken, the crypto exchange. Moving into stocks, plain old equities.
Yeah, quite a move, isn't it?
Seems bold. Are they trying to take on Robinhood or Coinbase, but like broader?
That could be an outcome, but Kraken says it's more about their current users. Their core base, they argue, are sort of pro traders. And those folks often trade both crypto and traditional stuff. So Kraken wants to offer it all in one place for that sophisticated user.
And they bought NinjaTrader recently.
Yeah.
Right? That platform's for derivatives aimed at active retail traders.
Exactly. That acquisition really signals their bigger ambition.
Yeah.
You become a platform for active traders across different assets, crypto, stocks, futures, the works.
So what does this mean financially? Kraken's IPO has been talked about for ages. Does adding stocks help that, make them look more established?
It could. Diversifying revenue beyond just crypto trading might make them look more stable, more appealing for an IPO. Shows they can handle regulated markets.
Right.
But they're emphasizing that, their priorities are still transparency for clients, security, managing risk properly as they expand.
It feels different from, say, Robinhood or Coinbase, which sometimes seem really tied to crypto volatility for their business. Kraken sounds more long.
That seems to be the positioning, yeah. Focusing on transparency, fair trading, building out more products. It suggests a strategy aimed at sustainable growth, not just riding the crypto waves, creating a more complete financial home for users.
And they already do other things, right? Like savings accounts, yield products.
Yeah.
And maybe payments later.
It looks like they're building towards a really integrated platform. Trading, investing, earning yield, maybe eventually payments and remittances too, covering a lot of financial needs.
Okay, last bit on this. Tokenization. Putting real things, like stocks, onto the blockchain. The tech seems ready, but regulation is the roadblock, isn't it?
That's pretty much it. The technology to tokenize assets like equities, it's getting there, it's largely possible, but
But the rules aren't clear.
exactly, you need clear legal frameworks. How does ownership work? How do you transfer it? Who oversees it? Until regulators provide that clarity, widespread tokenization of things like stocks is going to be difficult.
But if they do figure out the rules, the potential seems huge. Global markets, more access to capital.
Absolutely. Tokenization could really shake things up, make finance more democratic, break down old barriers, create more efficient global markets for all sorts of assets. It's a powerful idea.
Wow. Okay, well, that was quite the sprint through tariffs, spaceships, and stock trading crypto platforms.
Kept us busy.
It's always wild to see how all these different tech threads connect, or sometimes collide.
It really is. Each one gives you a little window into how fast things are changing the economy, society, even how we think about our planet and beyond.
For sure. Well, thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed this deep dive, definitely let us know, like, comment, share it around.
Yeah, we appreciate the feedback.
And definitely subscribe so you don't miss our next chat about whatever wild new things pop up in tech.